Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys are all doing well. For today's video, I'm going to be reviewing the new Colourpop Sunflower collection. This was sent to me in PR, but this video isn't sponsored. I just want to give you guys a heads up that these were gifted to me. But you guys know, I end up reviewing almost every single Colourpop collection, so this review is going to be like any other review. I'm going to be straight up, I'm going to be honest, like always. But yeah, I'm actually really excited for this collection. Yellow is one of my favorite colors. I just think it's so fun and it's so bright. It just makes me feel so happy. Also, I live in the southern hemisphere, so we're going into our spring and summer, and I just feel like this collection is perfect for this time of weather for me, so I am just excited. Did I already say that? But if you guys are curious about hearing my thoughts on this new collection, I have live swatches, comparisons, and I also created 3 looks with the eyeshadow palette. So if you guys are curious about all of that, I'm actually going to leave timestamps. You can see on the timeline here that there's going to be little cuts. If you want to skip to a specific part of the review, you can always use that to help you out. But yeah, with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the review. Alright, so first things first, I want to break down the collection for you. I want to let you know what's in this new sunflower collection. So the first thing in the collection is a new 9-pan palette. It is called Little Ray of Sunshine. This is $14 US, and this is an all matte palette, so there are no shimmer shadows. But then we have 2 super shock shadows in a metallic formulation. These are $6 US each. We also have 2 new creme gel liners, and these are also $6 US each. And then we have 2 ultra glossy lips. These are $7 US each. We also have 1 product from Soul Body, which is their sister brand, and it's one of their shimmering dry oils. It's in like a little mini glass tube, and this is $10 US. And then we have 1 facial oil from their other sister brand, Fourth Ray Beauty. This is called Glow Up, and this is also $10 US. If you would like to purchase the entire collection, it is $70 US. But of course, the first thing I want to talk about is the eyeshadow palette. This is Little Ray of Sunshine, and it is an all matte palette. It does come in the cardboard packaging. That's why it is $14 US. And when I first saw this, I wasn't really sure what to expect, because when I got the Honey palette, which is their yellow monochromatic 9-pan palette, and when I got the Good as Gold palette, I feel like those 2 palettes are probably the most comparable to this one. I didn't have like that much fun with those 2 palettes. Like, I think they're good, but I wasn't really like loving them. So when I saw this one, I'm like, yep, it's all matte. I mean, the colors look really pretty, but I didn't have a good time with the Honey and Good as Gold. I don't feel like I'm gonna really like this one, but I was so wrong, because I love and adore this palette so much. I feel like this is what I wanted Honey to be. Honey is definitely like more of like a brighter yellow. It's not an all matte palette, so it has glitters, it has metallic shadows in there, but I feel like the undertone, I just wanted something a little bit more like rich and warmy, and this is literally a Little Ray of Sunshine, because the undertones of the yellows in here definitely pull to the mustard side, and I just feel like that is a lot more flattering and wearable. You do have like a bright yellow in here, but it's not too bright, but I feel like it's very workable. And not only you have these beautiful mustard shades, you also have some warm tones. So if you wanted to create a very neutral eye look, you can do that, and it's not going to be too bright in your face. You can get a variation of eye looks. But when I use the Honey palette, because it's just all the same tone of yellow, I feel, no matter what eye look you do, I feel like it's going to look quite similar. But with this palette, I feel like I can create a variation of eye looks that are going to look completely different from each other. So I guess, just to my personal surprise, because my expectation of this when I got it was quite low, I was really pleased with the looks that I got, and I feel like this is a palette that I'm going to keep on using. I feel like it's been a while since I've played with a Colourpop palette that I feel like, okay, I really love this palette. I'm gonna keep using it. I think all of Colourpop's palettes are great. There's not really one that I like really don't like. I mean, there's maybe 1 or 2, but you know, I think overall, generally, Colourpop palettes, they work wonderfully, and I just think it comes down to your personal preference. And I feel like it's been a while since I've gotten a palette that I feel like is my preference, if that makes sense. I just know I'm going to use this palette more than I use the Honey palette and the Good as Gold palette, because these tones, I just love how they look against my skin tone. Like, I have a golden undertone and these just work so well on me, so I really love this. But now I'm going to go ahead and talk shade by shade and also give you my comparisons while we're at it. So the first shade in the palette we have is called Suns Out, and when I was actually trying to find my comparisons for this shadow, I feel like, oh, I could definitely dupe this one quite easy, but a lot of the matte whites that I have throughout my Colourpop collection, a lot of them are more of like a pinky white. This one definitely has a strong yellow undertone, so there wasn't actually a lot of comparisons that I could find. There are a couple, but I was just like expecting to find more. The next shade we have is called Vitamin D. I would describe this to be a very light musky mustard shadow. On me, this will take a little bit of time to build up on my skin tone, so I think out of all of these shadows in this palette, this is probably the shadow that I'm going to use the least of, just because it doesn't really show up on my skin tone, but it's a really nice light transition shadow that you could use. You could even use it to set your eye base down if that's something that you do. But I also couldn't really find a comparison really close to this tone and at its lightness, so I would say that this one is quite unique. The next shadow we have is called Happy Place, and I would say this one is like a light to medium muted yellow. I think this one is really pretty. I feel like it's a really nice tone of yellow and it just works great as a transition or as a base color. And the next shadow we have is called Blissed Out. This is another beautiful transition shadow. It's like a orangey brown mustard. As you can see so far, a lot of the undertones are very different from each other, and that's how you're going to get your variation of looks. But in the pan, this was a shadow that I felt like I could find a lot of comparisons for, but I actually couldn't, because a lot of the similar shadows that I was comparing it to had more of like a red undertone. This one definitely has more of like a mustard orange undertone, so it was quite different, but I do have one comparison here for you guys. And the next shadow we have is called Sunnies. This is the more brighter true yellow, and we've seen a lot of these sort of yellows throughout Colourpop's palettes, so I wouldn't say this one is too unique, but I think it's a nice addition into this palette. It gives a pop of color, but I feel like it's not too intense once you're pairing it with the other shadows in the palette. We then have Vibey. This one is like a true good old mustard. I mean, who can go wrong with a mustard shadow? I love this shadow so much. I think the undertone of it is really beautiful. I'm actually wearing a mix of this and another shadow as my blush to create this mustard blush, so this shadow is beautiful and stunning. We next have Limoncello. I would say it's actually quite similar to Vibey. The only difference is that Limoncello is a little bit more on the orange side and Vibey is more on the mustard yellow side. And then next we have Chillin'. This is like a burnt roasted red. Really beautiful shade as well. I feel like it's a nice different undertone to this palette, and it does complement the palette really well. And lastly in the palette we have Sun Giant, and this is just a good old dark warm brown. I would say it has a bit of red undertone in there, but again it does complement the palette, and I think just having a dark brown in this palette is necessary. So you can see from the swatches it covers everything. We have the light transitions to the mediums to the darker dark brown, so I feel like any look that you want to create you can do it with this palette. And the next products I want to talk about are the two Super Shock shadows. So we have the first shade called Flower Child, and this is more of a light champagne gold, and I think this one is really pretty, has a lot of reflex. I love the metallic Super Shock shadows. They are so stunning, so special and unique. And then we have In Harmony. In Harmony is a little bit more of like a true rich bronzy gold, but again in the sunlight it has a lot of glitter reflex that are super pretty. I personally don't think that these two shadows are super unique. Both of these shadows you can get something quite similar in the Good as Gold palette, so if you already have that I don't really think it's necessary to get the Super Shock shadow. But if you are a fan of the Super Shock shadow instead of the pressed metallics, then that is an option for you, but I personally don't feel like it's really necessary. I had a thought in my head that they could have added added these two shadows into the palette. I think they could have taken out Vitamin D and Vibey and then added these two Super Shock shadows in there, and then that would be just like an all-round good monochromatic yellow palette. This is what I wanted the Honey palette to be, but that is just a thought. I felt like them doing an all matte palette and then having some Super Shock shadows on the side can cater to everyone, just in case some people do like a bit of metallic or some people like all matte, then that's the option there. But I just had that random thought in my head that I thought I would share with you guys, because I feel like Vitamin D, it's a shadow that's like not that necessary for me, and because Vibey and Lemon Sallow look so similar, really it's just the undertone that's slightly different. I feel like we could have done with one or the other. And the next products I want to talk about are the creme gel liners, and can we just talk about the packaging first, because I think this is so cute. The little cap has the sunflowers on it. I love this so much. It's such a simple touch, but I can appreciate it and I think it's so cute. So the first shade we have is Sunnyville, and you guys, okay, I was just expecting like, you know, another brown. I have a lot of the creme eyeliners. I will link my video here where I talked about my collection and my thoughts on the creme gel liners, but to just quickly summarize, I feel like the creme gel liners to me are pretty inconsistent. Some of them are really good, some of them are good, and then some of them are really bad. So the really good one, there's only one other really amazing creme gel liner, and that is Venus. It's their red eyeliner. The way that goes into your waterline is so pigmented, it's so smooth, does not skip. It is such an amazing eyeliner formulation, but not all of them perform like that, but this one does. They created another one in that sort of creamy, rich, smooth texture, and this has easily become my new favorite brown eyeliner. I like Mr. Bing. Mr. Bing is another brown eyeliner. I think the shade is really comparable, but Mr. Bing I would say falls into the good category. I like it. I repurchased it so many times, but it's not as creamy and rich, and because it's a brown, you use this all the time, so I love this eyeliner, you guys. I think they did an amazing job with this one. However, we have Sub-Zero. This is like a metallic yellow gold, and when you swatch it, it's actually really nice. It's really smooth, but I wore it in my bottom waterline today and I'm pretty sure it's all disappeared. It does skip, and I feel like it's a little bit too glittery. I feel like some of the glitter like fell out and into my eyes, which is really bad. I know, because I'm wearing contacts as well. Kind of made my eyes feel a little bit scratchy. That sounds so bad. I'm okay, guys, I'm okay, but I don't really know about the chunkier glitters in this eyeliner that I personally cannot recommend this one. For the metallic eyeliners, I typically do like them, but this one just has a little bit more glitter in it, so I'm just not really a fan of this one. And for the last makeup items, we have the ultra glossy lips. When I first got these, I actually thought they sent me two of the same shade because I just thought they looked so similar. In the packaging, you can see a slight difference, but I think once on the lid, they look really similar. So if you wanted to get like both glosses, I don't really think that's necessary. You could just get one or the other. But the first shade we have is called Always Sunny. This one's more of like a clear gloss, and it has a lot of glitter reflex in it. It does reflect more of like silver glitters, but definitely once it's on the lips, it's more of like a really clear gloss. And the next shade we have is called Sun Soaked. This one has like a light peachy tint to it, but it's very light. It's almost clear, but just has like a slight peachiness to it. This one I would say reflects more gold glitters. The glitters are so fine, you don't feel them on your lips, and once they are reflected on your lips, they look really similar. So I would say just go for one or the other. I personally would pick Sun Soaked just because it has that tint in it. Then let's talk about the Soul Body Shimmering Dry Oil. This one is called a Lemon Drop. It just comes in a little tube. So I'm wearing Lemon Drop on my left side, and then I'm wearing one of their original shades, Soft Gold, on my right side. And from far away, they honestly look exactly the same. Even in the tube, they look really similar. If you look really closely in person, you can see the little glitter reflex are silver and gold, but then on the soft gold side, all the reflex are gold. So that really is the only difference, but you can only see that if you're like extremely close and paying attention. Like if you're just like from far away, you can't even tell that I'm wearing two different body oils. They really do look the same. So I feel like if you already purchased Soft Gold from their initial launch, then you don't really need Lemon Drop. But it is a really pretty shade. I really do like it, and I do like how it comes in the mini bottle. And for the Fourth Ray Beauty oil, I didn't try this one out just because I already have so many oils from Fourth Ray Beauty and from other brands that I need to get through that I'm just going to add this into a giveaway, so I didn't get to try this one out. Alright, so that was pretty much my review done, along with my swatches and comparisons. My top recommendations from this collection, if you could not tell from my review, is the eyeshadow palette and the creme gel liner in Sunnyvale. These would have to be my top pick. These are the products that I know I'm just going to keep on using. So these are definitely my top picks out of this collection. I honestly think overall this collection was really nice to play with. I feel like when they do smaller collections, I find that I like the collection better. So hopefully you guys found the review, the swatches, comparisons, and recommendations helpful. We can now move into the 3 looks. So to get started with the first look, I'm going to start off with the shade Vitamin D, and this is going to be our transition shadow. I'm just going to sweep that into my crease using windshield wiping motions. You can see that Vitamin D on my skin tone is pretty light. You can't really see it, but it's just going to work as like a base color, just so that way the other shadows that go on top of it can blend out a little bit smoother. I'm gonna move into the shade Chillin', and I'm gonna place this at the outer third of my eyes first, just stamping that on using circular motions to get that blended out. And then once most of the product has left my brush, I'm gonna take that to the inner third of my eyes ever so slightly, but you want the most pigmentation at the outer third. Same thing with the lower lash line. I'm gonna focus most of the shade at the outer third, and then once most of the product has left my brush, I'm gonna sweep that to the inner third of my lower lash. We just want the outer corners to be super dark. It's going to give us an eye shape where it's a little bit more angular and more cat eye, and I just really like the look of that. So just making the outer corners darker is going to help achieve that look. Then I'm going into the shade Sun Giant, and I'm going to be doing exactly the same thing, but you can see I'm using a smaller brush and I'm focusing it a little bit lower onto my lid. I'm not going to take it up too high into my crease, but we're just going to stamp that on at the outer corner, use circular motions to get that blended out. I'm taking a definer brush to define my lower lash line this time instead of smudging it out on the lower lash, but again, just focusing the product at the outer third, on the lid, and also on the lower lash line. Then I'm going to take the Super Shock shadow in the shade Flower Child. I'm first going to use my ring finger to grab some of the product and to apply that at the inner third of my lid space, and then I'll go in with a brush to maneuver and diffuse the shadow out. I just find that Super Shock shadows work better with your finger if you want to get the most pigmentation, but because my lid space is quite small, I do have to go in with a brush to get it where I want it to go. But you can see I do take it into my inner corners as well to highlight that area, and I'm just really diffusing this product out because I don't want it to be so harsh. I want it to be blown out. And now taking my black liquid liner, I'm going to use this to line my lash line and also create a wing. I will link my winged liner tutorial in the card so you guys can see how I do my wing. But I do take a black eyeshadow to help define and sharpen out my wing. I just find that to be easier, and it also gives sort of like a smoky effect to the wing liner. And now I'm just going to curl my lashes and apply mascara, and then I'm going to pop on my false lashes. These ones are from Petite Cosmetics in the style Honey. You can use my coupon code JUDY to save a bit of money at checkout. And this, you guys, is the first look completed. I wanted to show you a look that didn't contain so much of the mustard and yellows in the palette. I wanted to show you more of like a neutral look and how you can make this palette a little bit more wearable. And doing this technique, this is just like my go-to technique for a soft glam. I really love how it turned out. I love the tones, and hopefully you guys like it too. For my final lip pairing, I did go with the ultra glossy lip in the shade Sun Soaked, but I did layer on top of the Just a Tint lip crayon in the shade Rise and Shine. Now onto the second look, I'm gonna start off with the shade Blessed Out, and this is going to be our transition shadow and our base color. So I'm going to work this onto my lid and into my crease just using windshield wiping motions. I'm gonna blow this out. I want this to blend up towards my brow bone, so we want to blend it towards the inner corner and also towards the outer corner. This is just going to be that all over shade that you're going to see, so making sure you are just taking your time getting this blended out. I also take this onto my lower lash line as well, just to get a little bit of color onto the lower lash. Next, I'm going to go into the shade Limoncello, and I'm going to put this all over my lid space and then blend it up towards the crease area. It's pretty much going to go on top of Blissed Out, and it's going to give us more of that honey mustard vibe, which I really like. But it's also going to deepen out the eye look a little bit as well, just to give a bit of definition. And again, I take that onto my lower lash line. I'm just taking it on the same brush, pretty big and fluffy, and just diffusing this all over my lower lash line. I'm then going to go into Sun Ghost, and I'm just going to use a little bit of this at the outer corner of my eyes towards the lash line. I just want a bit of definition there, nothing too crazy. I really do just take a little bit on my brush, but I also take this onto my lower lash line as well, but I'm only going to focus this at the outer third, connecting the shadows at that outer corner point. Next, I'm going to take the shade Suns Out, and I'm going to start sort of carving out my crease by just packing this on at the inner third of my eyes. Like how I would cut up my crease with concealer, I'm just using it with a matte white eyeshadow, and this is going to give like a soft cut crease illusion. You still can see the cut crease, but I feel like there's less pressure when you do it this way, and if you've ever had trouble doing cut creases, then I think this is like maybe a good starting point to go. I always see Daisy Perkins do this type of look, and every time I see on her I think it looks amazing, so I wanted to give it a go, and I really like how it looks on my eye shape. I feel like it elongates my eyes because you can see I am bringing the cut crease in towards the inner corners of my eyes. So my eyelid space looks a little bit longer, so it really does elongate my eye shape. Now I am taking the Colourpop BFF liquid liner in the shade Grande. I'm going to use this to line my lash line and also create a little wing. I do go in with the dark brown matte eyeshadow to smudge and smoke that liner out. But I'm going to go in with the cream gel liner from the collection in the shade Sunny Veil. And I'm going to use this to tightline my upper waterline and just the outer corners on my lower lash line. Then giving my lashes a good curl, applying mascara to the top and bottom lashes. I'm gonna go ahead and pop on my false lashes. These ones are from House of Lashes in the style Natalia Light. And this, you guys, is the second look completed. Like I said before, that this look is definitely inspired by Daisy Perkins, and I really loved how this turned out. I definitely want to do this technique more often. I feel like it's just so easy, but it looks like you took a lot of time to your makeup, you know what I mean? The technique is actually really similar to the first look, but instead we were just a little bit more precise with the inner corner shadow. For my lip pairing, I use the Ultra Glossy Lip in the shade Always Sunny on top of the Just a Tint Lip Crayon in the shade Rise and Shine. And now on to the final look. I'm gonna start off with the shade Happy Place, and this is going to be our base color slash transition shadow. So I'm just going to work that onto my lid, blend that into my crease area using windshield wiping motions. Because this is going to be like the base color, you want to make sure you are blending this out really well. Just take your time with it, blend that up towards your brow bone, towards the outer corner. You pretty much just want this shadow all over our lid space. Then I'm gonna go into the shade Sunnies, and I'm gonna start packing this onto my lid space, and then I'll slowly start blending that up into my crease. I don't want to overtake the base and transition shadow, so making sure you are just stopping towards the crease area. But I do take the shadow onto my lower lash line as well. I'm just going to sweep that from the outer corner right to the inner corner. Then taking the shade Limoncello, I'm going to be doing exactly the same thing, just packing that onto my lid space and blending that up towards the transition shadow. The shadow is a little bit deeper than the previous shade Sunnies, and it has more of like a mustard orange tone to it, so it's going to give more dimension to the eye look as well. I also take this onto my lower lash line as well, but I'm taking it on a definer brush, but I pretty much just sweep this all over my lower lash line as well, just layering lots of yellow and mustards on top of each other. Then I'm taking the Super Shock shadow in the shade In Harmony. I'm going to use my ring finger to take the product on, and then I'm going to dab that onto the center of my lid. Just dabbing that on with my finger first just to get the most pigmentation at the center, and then I'll go in with a little tiny brush to blend that out towards my brow bone, towards the outer corners. We don't want just like a stripe of metallic shadow on our lid. We want this to be blended out, and I'm going to blend that out with the brush. I also take a little bit onto my lower lash line as well, just at the center. Now I am taking my Colourpop BFF liquid liner in the shade Grande. I'm going to use this to line my lash line and also create a wing. I do go in with the dark brown eyeshadow in the palette to smudge and smoke out that wing. But I will take both of the creme gel liners. I'm taking Sunnyville, and I'm going to use this to tightline my upper waterline, and then I will take Sub-Zero to tightline my bottom waterline. Then just curling my lashes, applying mascara. I'm going to pop on my falsies. These ones are from Petite Cosmetics in the style Honey. And this, you guys, is the final look completed. I feel like this final look tops it all off because it is the monochromatic mustard yellow, and I feel like I just match the palette. So I really love how this look turned out. I actually used a couple of these shadows as my blush color. So I took a mixture of Happy Place, Vibey, and Limoncello, and I just mixed all of them together and applied that on my nose and on the apples on my cheeks for my blush. I also used the faux freckle pens from Colourpop as well. But for my lip pairing, I am wearing the Fenty Beauty Mademoiselle Plush Matte Lipstick in the shade Tiger Teeny, but I use the Ultra Glossy Lip in the shade Sun Soaked on top of that. And that, you guys, was my 3 looks. Be sure to let me know your favorite look in the comments down below. I would love to hear your feedback. If you guys did enjoy this video and found it helpful, be sure to give it a thumbs up for me. It would help me out so much if you did. But that is going to conclude today's video, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already. I love you guys, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!